Welcome to the Expert Speaker Podcast. We have fellow public speaking coach, published author, best-selling author, my dear friend, Teri Kingston. Welcome to the Expert Speaker Podcast.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be chatting with you, a fellow TEDx coach, as you say, and just great to be here. Thank you.
Well, I know you have so much experience with TEDx. You were the first person I went to when I found out I got my TEDx. I said, Teri, help me get the best speech out of me. And I know we took so many different turns. It was a long journey. You get like 9 months to prepare for a TEDx. You could, come up with a lot of different speeches over the course of 9 months. And you gave a TEDx talk. What was the title of yours?
The title of mine is Can We Live Better by Talking About Dying?
And now you've gone on to be a death and bereavement expert, in addition to your many other expertise. You're speaking about the cost of death and bereavement in organizations, right?
Yeah, I recently gave a talk for DisruptHR. It isn't out yet, but it should be shortly. And it literally, you're in front of a room full of HR managers, employees, and I had the opportunity to ask them, do you understand how bereavement is affecting your business? Are you supporting policies or are you supporting people? Are you supporting humanity or the handbooks? And it just was a lovely 5 minutes in a very intense speaking situation, but good for me to be on my feet and walking my talk instead of coaching everybody else to get their best talk out. I thought it was time for
five
me
minute
to
talk.
a
That's
5 minute talk.
that's harder than a 30-minute talk in my book.
Absolutely. Same with Speaker Slam. I just coached a speaker for the Toronto Speaker Slam a couple of weeks ago, one of our fellow authors in Lucky Book Publishing. And he had 5 minutes on stage to make his impact, and he won. So it's short talk, real impact. 5 minutes, you need to know your stuff. Everything's edited down, down, down to the bare minimum.
So walk me through the process. Let's say I call you up and I say, Teri, I just got accepted. I'm doing this 5-minute talk at Disrupt HR. And I
Mm.
need your help. I don't even know where to start. Okay, what is like the preparation process? Should we write it out? Should we practice it in front of a mirror? Should we practice? How many times should we practice it? Tell me about like your preparation process.
Okay. So the first thing is in any talk, whether it's TEDx, Disrupt, Speaker Slam, what do you want the audience to think, know, do, or feel when you sit down and shut up? Okay. And so to really zoom in on what is the message you want the audience to carry out in their heart or in their mind? What do you want them singing when they leave? 10 speakers could speak that night. Are they going to sing your song? Is your refrain the one they'll remember? And so we start digging, and we sometimes it can take a number of iterations, as you know, and even with TEDx Canada, TEDx Ottawa, the speakers would get accepted with what they thought was the idea that the committee had said yes to. Then you start developing the talk, and they go, oh, it's actually not that. It could be this instead. And so it's to nurture that, it's to listen. What I'm looking for all along is their authentic voice. What is that story that will support their message? It's not about what they want to say. What does the audience need to hear? So they, the audience, will shift, change, transform, act differently. Other than that, keep your money, stay home, like it's
Okay.
hard work,
So we've got an audience that needs to hear something.
something.
We're trying to figure out what the audience needs to hear to have an impact. And we
Exactly.
also have an authentic voice,
Yes.
which is like what we really want to say,
Yes.
right? And what if these things don't really match? Or how do you balance the two things, what the audience needs to hear and what I really want to say?
That takes excellent coaching, doesn't it, Majeed? You know this from your own work with speakers. Sometimes it's gently. I've been told I'm firm but gentle, gently stripping away ego that wants to say, and TED style, the reason I love coaching TED style speaking, whether it's for the TED stage or the boardroom or a keynote, because TED strips away the performative aspect, right? TED wants that conversational voice that is bringing information to an audience without speaking at them, down at them. And so for me, it's a duet. It's a little dance I do with the clients I'm coaching until they can get to the next level and then the next level. And who is it? Trisha Bork, I think, who's another great coach out there. She always said sometimes it's Tamsin Webster. Sometimes you look for the idea that leads to the idea. And that's what a lot of coaching is about. That's why I record everything. We go back over it. And sometimes the speaker themselves will hear it when it rings true. And other times I'll have to say, can you go and dig into that a little more? Come back a few days later, go away, think about it. And then you can see it when it lands in their body, that then the true story is there. And then they can get to the what they need to bring to a TEDx stage or to a keynote or any speaking engagement.
Got it. So the authentic voice is felt in their body.
I
It's
believe
observed by you, your keen coaching eye. There it is. I saw it when you said that time. That feels true.
exactly.
Got it.
I just got off a call with a speaker who has landed in Johannesburg, South Africa. His talk is on Thursday. And we have been through about 8 different iterations of what could be his speech. He just ran through his final content for me. I was almost in tears when he finished because he's got it. There were many things he thought he was going to do and stories he wanted to tell, but we just kept whittling it down and whittling it down till now when he stepped in front of me today, I thought, that's Chris. That's his talk. That's the story that's going to shine on Thursday. And that's what gives me almost more joy than when I stand onto a stage myself. When I
Mm.
found out that Charles had won his speaker slam a couple of weeks ago, I was jumping around this apartment for joy because that's what it does, you know? That's what coaching is for me.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm not passionate about it at all though, so just another job.
So you and I, we've sat at the table as what they call TEDx coach or speaking coach, which is a volunteer position with the TEDx organization where we help the speakers prepare.
Mhm.
And when I did it for TEDx Canada, I think we had 9 months to prepare. And seeing the people, develop over time, shift, find the idea that leads to the idea, really practice, really get it well, seeing who they become is very
Yes.
fulfilling. And I'm sure you've heard this, stage fright is the number one fear of
Oh,
humanity, or it's at least a lot of people's concern. And then who they become when they confidently deliver the great speech and they're ready to take on the next stage is quite remarkable. I'd
mhm.
love to know what you've learned on coaching people through the limiting beliefs, the self-doubt, the anxiety, the stage frights. What have you found works well to help people in this department?
Well, you're like TEDx Canada has an unusually long lead time.
Hmm.
This gentleman I'm working with right now, we've had 3 weeks to bring
Okay.
his speech together. When I did my own TEDx talk for TEDx UNB in 2021, I had 3.5 weeks from the time they said yes till the time I stood on stage. I'm, believe it or not, I am a very nervous speaker. I come from a Bachelor of Music performance background and almost destroyed myself as a pianist, learning to give concerts at Queen's University. So I dove into the psychology behind what do you need to manage nerves and all of that. And so for me, um, it starts from day one of coaching, that whole mindset of how are you going to feel, how are you going to manage when you do get in that red dot, especially TEDx, because it's a big deal. There's no way getting around that's a big deal. So I build it into how we draft the talk in the first place, where I won't even say comfort zones. That's not one of the words in my language, but where their markers are in their talk. And then they learn the talk as much as you know how to go to pick your kids up at school. You know that route. If your eyes were closed, you could probably drive it, right? So building in the familiarity of the journey to the last minute, understanding what the outcome is. It's mindset from day one. And then for the people that are physiologically nervous, then it's four square breathing, it's talking to the amygdala, it's silly things like, hello, amygdala, thank you for taking care of me. All the neurological things that we need. It's understanding what their default mindset is when they're nervous so we can anticipate that and practice for it. It's doing what Olympic swimmers and everybody else does, the reticular activating system, visualizing the outcome. When you stand, you walk in and you don't run the speech, but imagine every word flowing freely, the audience engaged, excited, happy, what you're going to feel like when you get to your last word. And we run that visualization over and over. So when they walk out of that red dot, they won't care what other people think or feel about it. They know. And it's multi-level. The whole process of getting ready for TED is multi-level through the time you start the coaching process till their moment on the red dot.
Amazing. And this is what your book's about. Your journey to TED when TED is ready for you. Is that it?
Get ready for TED
Get ready
when
for TED.
TED is ready for you. Because the only reason I could do a speech in 3.5 weeks, or even send off my application to a TED event that I happen to see when the moving truck is in my driveway as I'm leaving Ontario to move out here to New Brunswick, the only reason I could send off a viable application is I had tried with TEDx Ottawa and a couple of other places, been turned down. But I was also refining my idea, when you talk about death and dying, you have to come at it in a way that's not going to scare the pants off the audience, right? Or the committee that's going to say,
Yeah.
"Oh, we don't want someone morbid and whatever."
Yeah.
So the theme was the essence of humanity. My talk is about can we live better by talking about dying, as I was walking my husband through his own journey to his last days. And so that combination of the right theme, the right place, the right whatever, I had all that built into me. I had years of coaching TED speakers by the time I applied to UNB. So when they only gave me 3.5 weeks, I was ready for TED when TED was ready for me. So that's why the book
Really
is
good.
is
Really
labeled.
good.
Yeah.
And for the people who are listening and they want to get a TED Talk, but they don't know where to start, I want to point out that Teri just revealed the formula. This is the formula I share with my people to get a TEDx talk. What she did is she tried once, didn't get accepted. She improved the application and then tried again. And if you keep doing that, improve the application and try again, improve the application and try again, you just keep trying until you get one.
Yep. Absolutely.
I think a lot of people are on step zero, which is thinking about doing a TED Talk or wanting to do a TED Talk, but they've never applied to one. And the first time you apply, it might take you an hour. It might take you, you might feel like you don't know how to answer the questions, but once you do it the first time, and this is what Taylor Conroy taught me with the thought leader, is apply once and keep that application in a Google Doc.
Hmm.
So, because when you go to the next one, most of the questions are the same.
Yep.
Sometimes it's a different theme, so I have
Yep.
to rethink and go, okay, how does this apply to that theme? And usually with just a little bit of thought, I can kind of tweak a few words, and then okay, now it kind of fits the theme. And then just keep applying until you get accepted.
It is a numbers game in some ways. And again, sometimes it's finding the right theme, right group, right time, and you shift and change yourself. It took me a while to find a better approach to how I was going to talk about dying and death in the workplace
Yeah.
or at a TEDx talk. But that's that constant process of refinement and attunement that you need in order to be ready.
Terry, I'm so curious. Do you have another TEDx talk in you?
I don't know. I don't know. This one went up really like 44,000 people watched it within the first 24 hours, which is not usual. And I didn't do anything. Someone sent me a message saying, "How did you get so many views already?" And I said, "What do you mean? I didn't even think it was up yet." So and now it's over 55,000. which, average people get 1,600 views unless, they're really hit some sort of Google algorithm or YouTube algorithm magic. But I don't know that I want to do another TEDx talk, but Disrupt HR was a challenge. It was a different style of speaking. Do I want to do more speaking? Yes. I want to help more and more people get their big ideas out onto a TEDx stage or be more effective at when they're given a keynote at work, or not being the manager that you go back to your office and people say, well, that could have been an email. Why do we even have a meeting? Because it was not a very inspiring meeting. So that business of working with people to have a short talk with real impact as many times as possible, that's my sweet spot for coaching. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Do I want to do another TEDx talk? It's a lot of work, as you know.
Yes.
So maybe, who knows? If I come up with another really great idea, maybe, but
So who are you working with now? Or not who are you working with, but like what kind of speeches are you working on? Um, you're
right.
working
Well,
on any TEDx's right now, or are you working on any upcoming speeches?
yeah, I have 2 or 3 clients that are working on active TEDx talks and about 5 that are working on their applications. I
Uh-huh.
have, um,
Also, you help people with the application side.
oh, that's the big part of what Get Ready for TED's all about. That's how to do the application because
Oh,
so
I'm
many of
so
them get
glad. Yeah.
so many of them get
If you're
lost
thinking
in the
about doing a
woods.
TEDx talk, hire Terry right now because I'm
Buy my
telling you,
book. Yeah.
if you can't get yourself to apply to the first one and you need to hire a coach, that's what I did. I hired
Yeah.
a coach and they were like, "All right, what do you want to talk about? Let's start applying."
And it is the app. So because I saw when I'm part of the TEDx Ottawa and Canada teams, when we go through those hundreds of applications that come in every time you open a window for applications, I saw good speakers not get accepted because they had no idea what to put in to an application. So when Samantha and the Lucky Book team and I sat down to say, what could my book be? I wanted to write a how leaders talk like TED, helping people understand TED style speaking that might never want to get on a TEDx stage. But the team around the table with me said, but Teri, when you talk about get ready for TED, that lights me up. So that's why this was the first book. I
Okay.
don't have the performance aspect in there. This is really about you're going from 0 to TED. I want to get you your yes, but I'm not like some of the big companies out there that say, I will guarantee that my team and I, will find you a spot. I'm just me. I want the person to find their talk. And then,
Got it.
I work with them. We look for events. I do all of that. I don't do it on the big scale like the big guys because I'm just me. But it'll come from the heart,
Um,
be your talk.
I suppose I should have mentioned this at the beginning of the interview, but TED, this TED we've been talking about the whole time, stands for Technology, Education, and Design, and it is a conference that happens once a year, and their slogan, their theme is ideas worth spreading.
Yes.
And at some point, they said, let's have a TED in every city around the world, and they call it TEDx. And
Spot.
there's a certain format. It's like less than 20 minutes, no notes, and there's a red dot in the center of the stage, and you're supposed to kind of stand on the red dot. That's what a TEDx
Next
talk
talk.
is. So there are now hundreds or maybe even thousands of TEDx's around the world. I did my TEDx in Sun Valley, Idaho.
I
And that's
remember.
because I applied all over the place and I was ready to get on a plane to give my talk anywhere. Um, so this is a TEDx talk, and the reason why it's on a lot of people's vision board,
Hmm.
and for a lot of people, it's been a really huge win, is because as entrepreneurs, as business owners, we have an idea that we want to spread.
Yes.
And we've developed an expertise in an area that we want to share. And it's just a beautiful thing to boil down a lifetime of experience into 15 to 20 minutes. That's a work of art, that's entertaining, that's, you know, enthralling and funny and has stories. And then it can spread as easy as a YouTube link. And when we're really lucky, it goes viral with the algorithms and all this. So, if you're an up and coming business owner and you feel like you don't have enough clients or not enough people know about you or people don't know you, the depth of your expertise and wisdom, and you can imagine how it would impact your business to have thousands or millions of people get to know who you are and your expertise and what you stand for. I know I have had the experience with my TEDx talk where someone watched the video, they picked up the phone, they called me and they said, Majid, I got to hire you. And I love it when that happens. Makes my life easier as a
Mhm.
business owner. So getting a TEDx talk, which is a 15-minute talk that's a great talk, but it's associated to a brand that says whoever these speakers are have some level of credibility. They've gone
Yeah.
through an application process. They've gone through quite a robust training process to get into to deliver a great talk. So not only is this a great talk, but the speaker is somewhat vetted.
Yes.
So it kind of acts as a marker of authority and expertise, the way I see it.
Hmm.
I'm sure there's some people who have gone to the TEDx stage who maybe aren't the world's greatest expert, but that's probably the exception and not the rule.
Yes.
Well, Terry, I got a question for you. You
Yeah.
know that we deal in stories.
Yes.
Our
Absolutely.
brains make sense of the world with stories, and
Yep.
great speeches have great stories. And when someone comes to a professional like you and says, I want a great speech, I know you're working on the story to make that story sensational and unforgettable, and just little tweaks in language and little tweaks in performance make all the difference. I want to hear from you. What makes a great story? Or how can you help someone tell a great story in their speech?
Wow. So that's two questions. What makes a great story is something that shows an audience that who is it? Matthew Dix, Moth storyteller guy, Storyworthy. He's got some fabulous things. Talks about the 5 seconds. So often there's a place in your own life where there's a 5 second marker that really brings you that aha moment. So on the search for great stories is where did that piece of information change for you? For me, it was the diagnosis for my late husband. That, the clarity in that doctor's office on that day will always be with me when we had that diagnosis. The stories have been unfolding ever since. What makes, and your second half of the question was
How
more
do you
around
help someone as a coach
how do we help
make
someone?
their story better? Like if someone's like,
Right,
help me make this story like a great, like I want to tell it in a
right.
great way.
You have to edit. First of all, they have to get it out of their head in onto something I can see. Some people are verbal processors. They need to just talk it out, talk it out,
Yeah.
talk it out. There's Udly is a great tool for this now. I get a lot of my clients to go into Udly, tell their story, and Udly gives an immediate script, and then we can work back and forth with it. But
What's
if they
that?
don't, YOODLI dot AI. If DLI dot AI.
UDI.ai. Udly.ai. I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah, it's an online speaking coach program. Toastmasters gives it to all their members now, but they're wonderful. It's fun. But as a coach, clients can send me a video of when they're practicing, but they get an instant script and some questions because usually will follow up and say, "Have you thought about this?" When I was working on my speech for the international speech contest last year in this new district I'm in, which I won, I did a lot of work with Udly because they would sometimes ask me questions I hadn't thought about. And they're coming at it from what does the audience need to understand in order to
Yeah.
understand you.
Yeah.
It just takes a lot of work, Majid. It's not, there's nothing magical, but edit, edit, edit is a big part of it. This gentleman that's in South Africa right now, the stories were too long. They were, rabbit holes here and going off on tangents there. And so it's the essence of every vignette within a 15-minute speech. Nobody gets 20 minutes on the TEDx stage. They don't even get 18 anymore. They get 10 or 12, maybe,
Uh-huh.
if they're lucky.
Yeah.
So, as you know, it takes much more time to write a short speech than it does to write a longer one.
Yeah.
So then it's even story wording. In the speech I did last week, I had a moment where I'm trying to explain how hard it is to come back to work while you're still grieving. I had a
Mm.
clock up there and I said, you can't circle a date on a calendar and say, okay, grief be gone, back to work now. And the very next slide is a woman standing in the kitchen, and my words were, so we, the walking wounded, show up, coffee cup in hand, looking capable in the kitchen. Inner dialogue is telling a completely different story.
Yeah.
That's a story. That's
Wow.
storytelling. The audience, I still get goosebumps. The audience
Yeah.
gasped, and there was one woman in front of me with tears in her eyes. And it's simple, powerful wording. I've been studying this for over 20 years now, storytelling
Uh-huh.
stage, and it's powerful. It works, and it's
Mm.
hard work.
Hmm. You reminded me. You just said the walking wounded, and you reminded me that I had a printout of Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech that I would sneak into work when I worked at a hardware store for minimum wage when I was 16 years old. And while I was reshelving the nuts and the bolts, I would be memorizing the Martin Luther King and trying to get the
The
rhythm and the
rhythm.
cadence and the da
Yeah.
da 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 da.
Yeah.
And um one of my little adventures when I was in high school is I went to a different church every week just to hear the different preachers preach because they're the best storytellers. And now in my adulthood, I know that they're preaching to hungover and tired people that are like, "Hey, you gotta wake up," and getting people's attention and keeping it with the rhythm and the storytelling. And storytelling, like great storytelling, is just so satisfying. Yeah.
It's the bridge, isn't it, between your heart and mind to the audience's heart and mind. Maya Angelou has that wonderful quote that says, tell a story so well that it'll slip through the mind and right into the heart, or something like that. I'm misquoting, but I used to use it in storytelling presentations I gave years ago. It's so true. And that's what we want, but it's not the long, boring stories that, your drunken uncle tells over the Easter table.
Yeah.
But stories that shift perception, that open minds and land where you want them to land.
Hmm. Beautiful. I'm glad we got to learn a bit from you about storytelling. Thank you. So go to Terry to get ready for TED, to apply to TED, or if you're a leader, if you're a business owner, you want to be a better communicator. I'm gonna check out this Udemy.
So much fun.
I'm gonna be obsolete by the end of the year. Udemy.
No,
Oh, boy.
no, no, but you work hand in hand with them, right? There's a reason I was named as one of Canada's top 10 speaking coaches. 2023, I think, but some of it was my earlier work with Udemy as they were launching and whatnot. So
Really? Oh, wow.
yeah,
I'm hearing about it. I
yeah,
love AI. I'm so loving this AI revolution we're in the middle
very
of right here.
helpful.
So I'm excited to play with this Udemy and give it to all my clients.
There we go.
I was just thinking this morning, how do I get all of my like feedback talent into some AI and get my client,
True.
and there you go. Bada bing.
Well, you've got a huge lifetime of experience that you're doing with your own work all over the world. I mean, I look at you and I look at other people that I know, and then here I am, this little widow in New Brunswick in my 650 square foot unit, but loving it by the sea here, loving it, the calm, and there's not even traffic lights in the town where I live. So it's been very soothing. It's been what I needed to, yeah, to get my feet underneath me as I'm adjusting more and more to learning what life as a widow is like, what, the work I could possibly do moving forward and the bereavement and business thing. And it's like you're reinventing yourself over and over again as a widow. Like, who am I now? And
Great question.
it's a great journey to be on. That's all I can say.
Well, as a master storyteller, you get to answer the "Who am I now?" question in the most dramatic and exciting ways as you tell yourself stories of who you are. And I'm sure you see that journey through the storytellings that you're telling yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Terry. Get the book now. It's called Get Ready for TED.
Get ready for TED when TED is ready for you. It's on Amazon. And there's a link on my website to the book and to some of the things I do. So realimpactspeaking.com. It's where it all is.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Terry Kingston.
Thank you, Majeed. Have like magic. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Thank you.